generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I want to talk about my 3 things that I wish for in the next MLB the Show game. It's right around the corner for MLB the Show 24. So I'm going to tell you about the 3 things that I want to see happen for improvements, and then also who am I speculating for the cover. So let's take a look. Okay, so my number 1 thing that I would like to see changed up in the game is it's kind of a drastic change in a way, but you know, when we go ahead and we make our lineups in the game for the defenders, the positional players, you know, if somebody has a secondary position, they tend to have some of their stats dropped, or just if they're completely, you know, out of their positional area that they're, I don't know what you want to call that, that they have the secondary position to play for, we get some, you know, adjustments to some of their defensive attributes. I want to see that happen with bullpen pitchers, or even allow some of these starting pitchers to be put into the bullpen, but at a disadvantage or reduced affected stat. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, you could load up your bullpen full of closers and, you know, just have a amazing bullpen. But I think what would really shake things up is if people actually had to think about, you know, what player that is a closer do I want as my closer? And then, you know, pitchers that are more known for being setup pitchers, they would be, you know, the setup pitchers, those that are used more for long relief. That would be their main relief position. And then they could have some secondary, so, you know, the closer could have setup as their secondary, or, you know, regular middle relief pitchers could have some things happen to them if they're put into the setup role or the closer role. Because all those different parts of playing in baseball have different feelings to them, and players, you know, don't perform the same, at least from what I've seen as a Detroit Tigers fan. Typically when we put our closers in for non-closing situations, they get lit up. And it goes all the way back to when I started watching, you know, with Todd Jones, with Jose Valverde. Most recently, Lange, he didn't do much of anything when he was in a non-closing situation either. He started the whole first half of the year dominant and arguably, you know, possible to go to the All-Star game, but you know, he started to be used in non-closer situations, and his stats, you know, really leveled out to being just kind of an average bullpen pitcher for the year. So that's kind of something I would like to see happen. I feel like our bullpens, and even mine, are just stacked full of people that, you know, probably should only be a closer, but they're being used for everything. The second thing I would like to see happen is some sort of change to how these Diamond Dynasty cards are being released. I know the huge thing for this year was to just kind of throw out a whole bunch of 99s and you can get them on day 1. Honestly, everything just kind of got flooded with 99s, and it almost seemed like everything else, even if you had, you know, those captain cards to help your cards that are a little bit lower in the rating, it didn't really seem like there was a point to them, because I was actually excited about captain cards. I was excited about theme teams, and I had thought it was going to work kind of like how Madden did their theme teams, because, like, for instance, there's cards that come out where the players are on different teams, but at one point, you know, they were Tigers in the past, and I want those players on my team. For instance, let's say I got, a Javi Baez card that was for the Cubs, or I got a Miguel Cabrera card from the Marlins, and it would give a boost if, there was a captain that had some sort of team affinity to Detroit, and it would be like, the card is represented by, the Marlins for Cabrera, but he had some affiliates at this time. He's played on, different teams. If they really want to run with it, maybe, like for instance, when Cabrera was with the Marlins, he hadn't been on the Tigers yet, so maybe that card wouldn't be affiliated with it, but, different cards. I don't really know what their system would be, but that's kind of what I would envision it being, is just some sort of rehashing the cards, maybe even having the leveling up system be a little bit more robust instead of just the parallels. I know I've heard in the past you could upgrade between bronze, silver, gold, and diamond. I think I would like to see that come back. I never really got to experience it. I've witnessed it, but I would like to try that out too. The third thing I would like to see is making the non-sellable cards sellable. I understand that there are some cards where they shouldn't be sold. So for instance, the ones that you get from sets. But I've been playing the ending of MLB 23 and with the XP program, and there's a handful of cards in there that you cannot sell, and I already have them, so all they're doing is taking up space. I can't even quick sell them. So what I would hope in the future is a little more leniency with that. Again, the set ones, I think those are perfectly fine to be non-sellable. I think those are good ways of saying, hey, you achieved this thing, here you go. Like the Derek Jeter card that we got for, collecting all of the live series player cards. I think that's totally fine to not be sellable. Part of me doesn't really think you should sell that card because that's an accomplishment. But I don't want a whole bunch of cards, just piled up in my inventory, and then be like, oh, I got like 10 of those right there. Even if I quick sell them, I can get like 100,000 stubs, and that could help me a lot. But I can't because I'm not allowed to. Okay, so the top 3 things that I want to see changed for Diamond Dynasty. One is some dynamics to the pitchers and their situations. I know there's a lot of talk about, the pitches themselves needing some work, but I just want to see some differentiation on, pitchers being put into certain roles and seeing how that could affect the game. I want the card system to be a little bit more robust for Diamond Dynasty. I'm not quite sure that flooding the market with 99s was the answer. I know 99s are exciting, but I think it's also more exciting to be maybe leveling up those players and earning stuff and actually seeing some like big progress. Like for instance, if we had a card that was bronze and going up to silver, maybe even the image of the card would change, not just the border of it. Because like the border color, not really my thing, and it doesn't really tell me much visually. I mean, I can see the color and it's like great, but if I saw a certain picture or like a player that is the top of the line, a moment when they won the World Series and they're just amazing or something, I think that would be really cool to see how some of these players could evolve. And then my third thing was being able to sell some more of those non-sellable cards. I think there's too much of a block there, and I think they should loosen up a little bit. One honorary thing that I would like to see change, and I don't think it's really going to happen because they have to pace themselves, is giving us more flashback and legend cards. I'm really, and don't hate me, I'm really not a fan of just seeing all the older players rehashed time and time again. I mean, I have 99 diamonds of the same player, but their stats are slightly different. And some of the things that was nerve-wracking was that some of the older cards that were 99s for a player, their stats were better than the later cards that are 99 diamonds, and that just seemed like a misstep. Like, here's a 99 of the same card you had, but it's not as good. You're gonna have to wait till the last season to use the better one. That seems counterintuitive. There needs to be a progression system where it actually feels like it means something to progress as a community. So I think that day one 99 thing really killed that experience, because I feel like we should kind of all be somewhere in that, like, a couple of low 90s released at first, a couple of mid 90s, somewhere around the middle of the game's life cycle, and then maybe the second half of the game's life cycle is when those 99s really start to jump out. Or just having a few of them just peppered in throughout. The thing that I would like to see happen in the game, but probably won't, going along with those flashbacks and legends, is either one, I want to see more players from the 2006-2010 era of the Detroit Tigers. I would love to see like Brandon Inge, Kenny Rogers, Placido Polanco would be another big one. Craig Monroe, he can't be a hard one to get. I mean, he works for Bally Sports. Just ask him. Get him in the game. Joel Zamaya, he was kind of, at least from what I experienced, one of the first players I ever saw pitch over 100 miles an hour, and he would fit right into the game because there are tons of those pitchers in there that can throw over 100. So it'd be kind of cool to see more and more of those players come into play. Which would also fit into that theme team thing I talked about. So there's that side of it, but the other side that's not as realistic, but I think it'd be super cool, is if they come out with like a World Series edition where they go back and they see all the players that for different eras, they focus on like who is in the World Series, who do we not have in the game, and how can we get them in the game. So for instance, let's pick the 2006 Tigers, for example. The Tigers and the Cardinals were in the World Series in 2006. All the players that were on those teams, I would like accessible in MLB the Show. Just focusing on the World Series, not necessarily all the playoffs, but kind of pinpointing some of those World Series moments. Or, they have the Negro Leagues storylines thing, which is awesome, and I'm looking forward to more of that stuff. They could even expand that with the World Series. What were some of the big World Series moments? Was there any moments in World Series history that like really changed the face of baseball? I think it would just be really cool. Even I love learning the history about the Negro Leagues. I would love to learn the history about some of the biggest World Series moments too. I feel like we kind of get those with the moments in Diamond Dynasty if you read it, but you don't really get to feel it like they did so well with in the Negro Leagues. I love the presentation with the cutscenes and everything, and just being like, this was a pivotal moment in this person's career. Now you get to play it. So I just thought that was super cool. So yeah, I would like to see more Tigers, and I would like to see maybe like some sort of World Series mode or sets or teams. Like they have the teams you can pick from in Play Now, where it's like all massive sluggers or all fast runners. I don't know all the different ones, but they have things like that where they're just kind of mix of teams. I'd like to see that with some World Series players. Alright, so those are some of my thoughts on, what do I want to see in the next rendition of MLB The Show. We should be hearing very soon. Usually it's by the end of January we hear about the cover athlete, and then we hear about different parts of the game in the weeks of February, and then we finally get the game somewhere around the end of March, early April. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to making new content for you guys with MLB The Show. If there's any types of content that you would like to see that we haven't had on the channel, feel free to drop it in the comments. Let me know what you would like to see. My hope is maybe talk about more news related stuff. I always talk about the seasons and whatnot when it comes out, but also maybe talking about some of my favorite cards for the month or for the season, so to speak. Just a couple of spitballing ideas, but if you have any that you'd like to see, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Like I said, there'll be tons of MLB the Show 24 content coming out in the near future, so you can be notified of those. Drop us a like if you like the video, and drop us a comment letting us know who you think will be on the cover of MLB the Show 24 and what changes you would like to see in the next iteration of the game. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.